Welcome to My The Asshole Podcast. Let's get into it. Welcome to My The Asshole Podcast. Today is Tuesday. We have a lovely Tuesday episode for you guys laying in the wait. As you know, as you've seen from the title, I'm sure, we are revisiting Love is Blind Season 9. We're talking about everything all wrapped up and all that good stuff. I believe it was maybe, a couple weeks ago we talked about Season 9. We pretty much talked about everything that happened in the pods, as well as everything that happened in Mexico, and then we stopped there. So now we're going to be talking about pretty much everything after Mexico all the way up to the weddings. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, so I'm going to pretty much just go through all of the couples, you know what I mean, and just how everything went, and my thoughts, all that good stuff. So I'm going to start pretty much with I'm going to start with Joe and Madison. I ain't going to lie to you. I'm going to start with Joe and Madison. I hit the nail on the fucking head when it came to Joe and Madison, okay? I ain't going to lie to you. I knew it. If you go back and you watch the episode where I talked about Joe, and I was just like, yeah, that motherfucker, he was complete cap in the fucking pods. And then when he went to Mexico and all that kind of stuff with her, like, he wasn't attracted to her at all. You know what I mean? He really didn't give a fuck about her like that. And, when they were in the pool and all that kind of stuff, and he was talking about, the producer had asked her, or had asked him, hey, are you attracted to her? And he's like, oh, she's a bigger girl, this and that, blah, blah, blah. I'm usually into more thinner girls, but like I could, try to learn to love her and all that kind of bullshit. And then, I was like, oh yeah, I can give him the benefit of the doubt. Then he gets, drunk like crazy. And then all of a sudden he's, in the bed and whatnot, and he's like making her feel like shit, and she's over there crying and all that kind of stuff, and instead of going over there and consoling her like she wants him to, you know what I mean, and he knows that that's what she wants, he decides to be in the bed, all that kind of stuff. So we fast forward and we get into where they're living together. Immediately, the moment they start living together, immediately they already have a fight. And I think it was one of those things where I said this in the previous episode. What I think that he in that moment was trying to do is push her away to the point where she would break up with him, so that way he can look at it like, it just didn't work out, it is what it is. He would look like the good guy. But guess what? That didn't happen. She was so desperately into this relationship, if I'm being honest with you. She so desperately wanted to be married. I think it was a thing where she just stuck through all the bullshit. I think she saw all the signs and she just stuck through the bullshit. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. She stuck through the bullshit. And I was just like, oh, Madison. And I'm sure you guys also were thinking the same thing. Like, Madison, no. And don't get me wrong. He put on a great face in front of all the friends and family and all that kind of stuff. He put a fantastic face. Give that man a fucking Oscar. All right. I ain't gonna lie to you. How are you gonna sit there and you are gonna look her family in the face and be like, oh no, I love her and she's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, and yeah, I can't wait to marry her and all that? Bruh.
Stop the cap.
Craziness to me. Crazy. How are you gonna look them in the eye and say that, bruh? There's no way I could look a girl's family in the eye and say that I love her and care about her and all that kind of shit, knowing I don't. Knowing that I don't. Craziness. Nah, bro. I hit the nail on the head with that motherfucker because I had said it. I was like, he is not attracted to her. He does not care about her. And I gave him that benefit of the doubt. And then once he got drunk and was acting stupid the way he was when she came back from the pool party, they confirmed it for me. And I stuck with that too. I was just like, nah, bro, nah. He is Capper McCappenston. And he did it all the way through. All the way through. Hey, I feel bad for Madison. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think she was really on this show because she was trying to find love. And she really wanted to find somebody, you know, to be with and to marry, because I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. She was probably gonna say yes if he went all the way to the altar with it. I ain't gonna cap. And I think he knew that. I think he knew, like, oh shit, I'm in too deep. You know what I mean? I'm in too deep. She's going to say yes. She's going to say yes. It's going to be in too deep. And I think that's why he decided to break up with her at that moment. It was fucked up that he let her try on dresses and got her hopes up to the way that, you know, she did. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of fucked up that she let him get to that point. And then that'll segue us right into Jordan and Megan. You know, Jordan and Megan, if I'm being honest with you, bro, I truly feel like Megan was done with him a while ago. All right. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think, Megan's breaking point with Jordan was when they were shopping for houses. All right. And if I'm being honest with you, I don't even think that. I think she was doing that house shopping for the show. I really do. I think she was doing that house shopping shit for the show. I don't think she was willing to buy $1 million house. Fuck no. Let's be honest here. I don't think she was willing to buy $1 million house. No. She was doing that shit for the show. She was doing that shit to keep up appearances and, you know, try to keep up with the Joneses and keep up this, you know, lifestyle that she supposedly created for herself. You know what I mean? Now, I have seen on TikTok people talking about, you know, she ain't really who she says she is, and the whole Sparkle Megan thing is her trying to launch a influencer career, and that, you know, she ain't really the businesswoman that she actually is. She's actually just a life coach that be selling courses and all that kind of stuff. How true that is, I don't know. All right. That's true. I just been hearing through the grapevine. You know what I mean? But if I'm being honest with you, with that perspective, when you go back and you watch a lot of the scenes with her in it, it definitely looks like that. You know what I mean? Because nobody called her Sparkle Megan but her. I ain't gonna cap. And then Jordan did a little bit here and there, but I mean, he was only doing it for the coochie. Let's be honest here. Even that nigga didn't want to call her Sparkle Megan. Obviously, like I said, I think it came because you know, everybody knows, we all know that it was their main thing was lifestyle. You know, their main thing was she's a very go, and he's a more like, I like to, you know, be relaxed, chill kind of dude. And their lifestyles just didn't mesh together. So I think with Megan, she thought that she could change him and make him into, you know, more of that go kind of guy and all that kind of stuff. And he stood 10 toes down, bro. He stood 10 toes down and was just like, bruh, I'm not going to be doing this. I'm not going to be go. I'm not going to be sitting here and talking to you about my job and all that kind of stuff. No, when I come home, I just want to sit on the couch and watch TV and relax. If you want to come and you want to sit beside me and do that with me, great. If you don't, that's totally fine. That is totally fine. But I'm going to be, you know, decompressing from the day. I don't want to talk about my job. And I feel him. I feel it, bro. When I come home from work, I don't want to fucking talk about my day and all that. No. I left work for a reason, bro. I ran about that bitch for a reason. I don't want to talk about it. No. I want to come home. I want to do some fun shit and unwind and relax. But, you know, I think for him, he kind of looked at it like, bro, I ain't going to change. You know what I mean? And I think what it was is she expected him to change while she stays the same. And it's like, nah, you can't do that. You know what I mean? You have to be willing to compromise some things as much as he's willing to compromise some things. And I think she just wasn't really willing to compromise. I don't. I think she wanted to stay, pretty much she wanted her life to stay the same, but she's just married. And I think that's what she wanted. You know, she thought that that's what her life with him was going to be. Oh yeah, my life is just going to be the same, but I'm just married. You know, and when she realized that that's not what her life was going to be, that's, I think, when she was like, okay, yep, this is over with. I can't do it. Now, at the end, when she was talking about maybe she's not fit to be a mom, I disagree with that, and I think she was being very hard on herself. I do. I do think she was being far too hard on herself. Look, I get it that, you know, you felt like you couldn't be a stepmom to, you know, his kid, but it's vastly different when it's your kid. You know what I mean? When I understand, you know, taking care of somebody else's kid might have been something she didn't want to do. You know what I mean? She looked at it like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to be responsible for someone else's kid, which is totally understandable. I know I wouldn't want to date a woman who has a kid. I just wouldn't want to do it. I don't want to be responsible for some other dude's kid. Sorry. I just don't want that responsibility. And I think she kind of looked at that too and was just like, nah, I really don't want to be responsible for, you know, someone else's kid. I just don't want to do that. Even though, you know, Jordan is just like, oh, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that, blah, blah, blah. But for her, I think she looks at it like, well, I'm missing out on all of the, you know, mommy things that I could be doing. But I guarantee you, if she were to have her own child, you know, her mindset would be far different. It would. It'd be far different. She would definitely lean full into that mom role, and she'd be a great mom. 100%. I just think it's a thing where she can't see it because it's not her kid. You know what I mean? So I think if it was her kid, she'd definitely be able to see it, and she would just naturally fall into that role. But I think for her, she kind of needs to do some growing up. And understand that, look, you know, the whole travel, fly by night, all that kind of stuff, you're not going to get that when you're married. You know, now if you are with a guy who can, you know, do that too, then okay, hey, do your thing. But know that most guys, trust me, most guys ain't going to want to do that. A lot of women, especially because when I did the dating apps and all that kind of stuff, a lot of women would put on their profile like, oh, I love traveling and I love doing this and that. Turn off. A lot of guys don't want to travel. A lot of guys don't want to deal with all of that. Like, look, man, traveling is a great thing. It sounds like a great idea. But for a lot of guys, we just kind of look at it like, bro, nah. Like, yeah, I'll do it here and there, but that's not something I'm going to want to do within the first year of dating you. You know what I mean? I'm not going to want to deal with that. Like, sorry. That just shows me that you can't just slow down. You know what I mean? And just enjoy the relax. And the older, you know, guys get, the more we just kind of want to slow things down and just being able to enjoy the moment. We don't have to spend money, because that was another thing about Megan that I didn't really like. She was the type of woman where she's like, oh, I'm not having fun unless I'm spending money. And it's like, bro, you know, and I can tell Jordan was probably just like, dude, we don't have to always go out and do something. Like, we can easily stay home and have a great time, just you and I. Like, I don't know why you always have to spend money, you know what I mean, or else you're not having fun. And so, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's just like a lot of that stuff, you know, led to, and I get it. He was still like all for it and gung ho, but I think he was all for it and gung ho just because he just wanted some coochie at the end of the day. I ain't gonna lie to you. You know, it just seemed very, very desperate, you know, on his end. If I'm being honest with you, it just seemed very desperate. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Anton and Allie. Anton and Allie, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. First off, the his friend's girlfriend is a messy bitch. All right. She is a messy bitch. When they went to the restaurant and the girls went into the bathroom and homegirl, mind you, she's only been homeboy's girlfriend for what? 3 months or some shit like that. And she's over here like, oh yeah, Anton, he likes to go to strip clubs and he likes to party real hard and get super drunk and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, what? Oh yeah. It's like, yeah, that's what they were doing when he was single, blah, blah, blah. And for some reason, Allie took such a big problem with that. Now look, I get it if he was doing that shit while he was in a relationship with somebody, but he was single. He was single. Like, what? I can't go to a titty bar while I'm a single man? What the fuck? Like, this is before I even knew you. I didn't know you when I was going to titty bars. I didn't know who you were. I didn't know you when I was partying and doing all that. No, I'm a single guy. I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. Now that I'm in a relationship, obviously I'm not going to do those things. That to me was just like, it was weird. It seemed like Allie was just fishing for something to be upset about, if I'm being honest with you. Now the whole, him drinking a lot. I understand her concern of, him drinking a lot and stuff like that. Because, when guys do drink a lot and stuff like that, they can get aggressive and they can be abusive and all that kind of stuff. And I understand the concern with that. But if you look at the way Joe was with Madison when he drank to Anton with Allie when he would drink, they were complete opposites. When Joe would drink and, get a little drunk or whatever, he was an absolute dick and asshole to Madison. But when Anton would drink, he was just still chill, mellow guy doing his thing. I think that he's the type of dude where, yeah, he drinks a lot, but he understands moderation. You know what I mean? He understands his limit. And I think it's a thing where he looks at, and that's why I don't think he saw it as a big deal, because he was just like, I know my limits. I know when I'm getting to a point where I need to stop. You know what I mean? And I need to cool off, have some water, and chill the fuck out. You know what I mean? Like, I know my limit, and it's never going to get to that point where I am being aggressive with you, because I'm sure in his past relationships, that's happened to him. I can guarantee it, where, he was drunk, he was drinking a lot, he would get aggressive with the girl he was dating and this and that. And I think that's happened to him and he's learned from that, because all throughout the, experiment, or all throughout the time they were living together and all that kind of stuff, Mans was drinking, doing his thing. You know what I mean? But not once did he ever get aggressive with her. Even when they had that discussion on the couch, he wasn't yelling at her. He was just like, oh, well, I mean, yeah, I just like to have a couple drinks and all that kind of stuff. Like, I didn't think that was that much of an issue. Like, that's just, my lifestyle. Like, is your lifestyle not doing the dishes and not doing your laundry? You know what I mean? Like, he had a very calm adult conversation with her. He didn't yell. He didn't get loud with her. Nothing like that. So I personally think that he's the type of dude where, yeah, he drinks a lot, but he does it in moderation. And that's the reason why it wasn't an issue. But I think for her, the reason she said no, I think, was the money thing. I think it was the money more than anything, because she's got some shitty ass friends, bro. The fact that her two fucking, Russian bimbo friends were like, oh, he's a truck driver. Like, maybe he won't be a truck driver forever, but maybe he will. And it's like, so what if he is a truck driver forever? So nigga's got a job. He's doing something with his life. He's able to put money or he's able to put food on the table. He's got, you know what I mean? Like, truck drivers make good money. But see, what it is I personally think Allie wants to live a influencer lifestyle, and I think that's why she went on the show. Yeah. I'm kind of thoroughly convinced after watching it all the way through. Because at first I really thought that she was the type of girl where, she was super pretty, but, a lot of shallow dudes only really liked her. They only really liked her for her looks, or they only really wanted to just smash, whatever it was. So she was looking for a deeper connection. And the more I would see her, or the more I would hear her talk about how she wants her relationship to be. She's like, oh, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, but I still want to get Botox. Oh, can you support me and kids? When they had the conversation about, oh yeah, he makes okay money, like, oh, this and that, like, you can tell she wants that stay-at-home mom influencer lifestyle where she ain't got to work and the man takes care of her. That's really what it comes down to. And so I think, she kind of went on the show because it was one of those things where either she'd be able to find a man and, be in a great relationship, get married, all that good stuff, and it's fantastic. Or if it don't work out, guess what? She can be an influencer. Because after the show, look at her now. She's popping on TikTok. She's popping on Instagram. She's doing her thing. She's practically a full-blown influencer at this point. Like, let's be honest here. And I think that's really what it came into. I guarantee you, her relationship with Anton is probably going to be the last relationship that she'll ever have that'll be that deep. I ain't gonna lie to you. Every one of her relationships moving forward are never going to be as deep as that one was. You know what I mean? Because they actually got to know each other. But with this one, I guarantee you, any relationship that she has going forward, it's never going to be that deep. It's just not. And their relationship wasn't even that deep to begin with, if I'm being honest with you. Like when, if you go back and watch, the episode, my episode that I did the first time, they didn't really talk about anything like meaningful. They really didn't. They didn't talk about shit meaningful, if I'm being honest with you. Even in the pods. In the pods, it was just a lot of, oh, you like that? Oh, me too. Oh, you like that too? Yeah, me too. Oh, I did that too. Oh, you know what I mean? It was just very surface level, shallow shit. And then even at the honeymoon, they, again, didn't really talk about anything. I mean, to name a deep conversation they had on the honeymoon, because I can't. You know what I mean? They only really had a deep conversation after his best friend's girlfriend of like 3 months started talking shit. It took that for Allie to finally, crack down on him and be like, oh, we got to talk about some serious shit. You know what I mean? Like I said, I personally think it got to a point where she just wanted to be an influencer on the show. She didn't really care about, getting married and fall in love with that nigga, if I'm being straight with you. Yeah. Because there was nothing about Anton that was like really red flaggy, like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't too much about him. I think he was a well-rounded guy. He wasn't perfect, and I'm sure he had a lot of things that he worked on that made him the guy that he was. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. All right, we'll get into the last one. Yes, I saved this one for last. I ain't gonna lie to you, because I'm very conflicted with this one. Okay? KB and Edmund. Okay? I am thoroughly convinced KB was, or she realized she wasn't going to marry him after Mexico. I think everything that happened during Mexico made up her mind. And like, yeah, I ain't marrying this nigga, but I'm going to stay on the show, you know what I mean, and keep this going, and I'll take it all the way to the end, and then I'll say no because I want to stay on the show for whatever reason. You know what I mean? Maybe she wanted some clout. Maybe she wanted to do some, because I think a lot of people are giving her too much credit, if I'm being honest with you, because if you look at the way KB was in the beginning to the end, completely different person. In the beginning, she was very tolerant with him. You know, she would talk to him, this and that. You know what I mean? She just had a lot of tolerance for him. But then I would say once we got into the little cowboy party that they had, it was done. It was just out the window for her. She was just like, I'm fully checked out with this man. 100% checked out with him. Because in Mexico, all right, in Mexico, there were three distinct things that I think KB looked at and she was just like, I made up my mind. I ain't gonna marry this man. All right. One was when he was crying about not getting some coochie. All right. When he was crying about not getting some coochie, let's be honest, that was something she was just like looking at it like, oh my God, bruh. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck are we doing here? And I think she didn't want to fuck him because honestly, I don't think she was attracted to him, if I'm being honest with you. Yeah, let's be real here. If she was actually physically attracted to him, she would have had sex with him. But I think she didn't have sex with him and she did that whole waiting till marriage bullshit because she wasn't attracted to him. Let's be honest here. All right. When they were at the pool party and niggas kissing on her feet and rubbing on her feet and all that kind of stuff, she watch it back and look at KB's face. She is uncomfortable. She's just like, oh, nigga, what are you doing? Like, because it's weird. It's weird that a nigga be worshiping her feet like that. So, like, bro, like, no other man is doing this shit. Like, you are doing the most right now. Like, can you stop? You're making me feel mad uncomfortable. And then she didn't say anything because she didn't want to ruin the vibe or nothing like that. And I get that. You know, she was like, everybody's having a good time doing their thing. But she was uncomfortable with that shit. And then last but not least is when they were sitting down, right? And they were sitting at that table. And she was like, why do you compare yourself to everybody else? Why are you always comparing yourself and shit like that? That to me told me that KB looks at Edmund as very insecure, as a guy who, you know, he ain't got his shit together. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't even know who he is, you know? And so with those three things, that told me that the moment they moved in together, she was already like, I ain't marrying this nigga. You know, I ain't marrying him. And again, why did she stay on the show? I don't know. You could say that it's because she wanted the clout. You could say because she was trying, which I don't think she was trying, if I'm being honest with you. I don't. And the reason I don't think she was trying is because Edmund kept dropping the ball. So for her, she looked at it like, why am I going to keep trying when this nigga keeps dropping the ball? When they had the conversation about, you know, before the party, and, you know, she was just like, oh, yeah, I'm out here doing all this ripping and running. And I call you and say, hey, can you go to Ross and get the bandanas and the hats or whatever? And you couldn't do it. What the fuck's wrong with you? Like, why couldn't you just do that? You know what I mean? And then when they were at the party, because I was wondering hard. I was wondering why she started that fight. And it pisses me off that a lot of people are taking her side for some reason and being like, oh no, she didn't start that fight. Yes, she did. She started that fight. All Edmund said was, dang, that's really nice to hear. You know what I mean? That's all he said. She didn't have to say anything to that. She could have just, oh yeah, what you talking about? Oh yeah, that's really nice, you know, that he said that she's perfect even though it's not true. She could have just said nothing to that, but she leaned into that bullshit only because she was already on edge with that nigga. She was already mad at him for the whole, you know, shit that happened beforehand. And I was wondering why Netflix showed that out of order. That kind of annoyed me because it made me think like, yo, KB tripping. You know what I mean? Like KB's mad tripping. Like, don't get me wrong. Did she start that fight? Yes. Okay. I ain't taking that away. She started that fight 1000%. But I understand why she started it. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's like if they would have showed them at the house talking about it and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Or at least some type of glimpses of what happened before the party, it would have made more sense. You know what I mean? Because obviously us watching it, we're just like, yo, KB tripping. What the fuck? Why did she start that fight? Because that's what I was thinking. I'm like, yo, KB tripping. What is she doing? You know what I mean? Like, you didn't even have to say anything about that. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Why is she just instigating that fight out of nowhere? And then I had the nerve to be crying and all that kind of stuff. You started the fight. You know, but then once they had that conversation later in the apartment of her frustration about like, oh yeah, I'm doing the ripping and running, I call you and you over here talk about I can't do this when all I asked you was to run to the store real quick and grab a few things and you couldn't even do that. You know what I mean? Makes sense. I was like, okay, all right, full circle moment now. You know what I mean? And then when obviously, you know, they went to the jet skis and all that kind of stuff and she was calling him a bitch and she was doing this and that, I was like, yeah, done. Because once you watch that moment right there, you know, when they get off the it's not a jet ski, it's a snowmobile. When they get off the snowmobile and, you know, she talking and just laying into his ass, it definitely shows you like she's been done with him. She doesn't care what she says to him at this point. You know what I mean? She doesn't care. She's like, I don't care if I call him a bitch nigga. I don't care if, you know, as she would say, I get out of my character. She don't care at that point. She's like, nigga, after Cabo, I knew I wasn't gonna marry you, but you know what I mean? I stuck around stupidly. You know what I mean? And I, like I said, I think she just stuck around simply for the show. I don't know that for sure. But then we'll go to Edmund's side. You know what I mean? Because I ain't gonna just get on KB. You know what I mean? Edmund had his part in this too. All right. Edmund, I don't think realizes that he lacks empathy. Okay? He lacks empathy and it shows big time. It shows big time because he doesn't understand how his actions affect her. He can't put himself in her shoes. He can't see the situation from her lens. You know what I mean? And I understand why, because of his childhood. You know, he grew up in a foster home. He never really had parents like that. You know what I mean? He was always constantly just looking out for him. He was just looking out for himself because he only ever had himself. You know what I mean? Growing up and stuff like that. He didn't really have, you know, people looking out for him like that and making him kind of feel safe in a certain environment until later on in his life. So he never really developed empathy skills to be able to empathize with other people because he always only ever looked out for himself. And so, you know, I understood that. But it was one of those things where it was just like, I know why you're single. You know what I mean? I know why you're single. I know why girls, you know, don't want to continue relationships with you or stay in relationships with you because you don't have empathy for them. You know what I mean? You do some shit and you think because I see it this way, you see it that way. And that's not how it is. You know, it's one of those things where, especially as a man, you have to have enough empathy for the both of you. I ain't gonna lie to you. You as a man, you gotta have empathy for the both of you. When she acted crazy and doing all that type of shit, you gotta be able to be empathetic and kind of pull her off her psycho, you know. You know what I mean? You gotta pull her off her psycho pedestal and calm her down a little bit. Because with you having that empathy, you see how she sees it. You feel what she's feeling. You kind of understand the situation that's going on. And that's what KB wanted. KB wanted a man who can just kind of take charge and can, you know, hold it down. If I'm being honest with you, that was all she was ever saying in the pods, is that I need a man who is going to hold it down because I'm tired of being that. I want to be able to give that to my man and he holds it down and I could trust that he's got it. That is what she's been wanting. I said that even in the past episode, that's what she wants because that's all she was saying. But Edmund time and time again dropped that ball. Time and time again, he dropped that ball. And so for her, I wasn't surprised that she said no. You know what I mean? She was over here in the dressing room talking about, oh, I love that man. I love that man. And I was just like,
stop the cap.
Shut up. Shut up. You're going to say no. We already know you're going to say no, KB. And if you didn't think she was going to say no, oh, Lord have mercy. Bless your soul. Because you are one of the ignorants. You know what I mean? You wasn't watching the same show we were watching. You know what I mean? Like, come on, bro. You wasn't watching the same show that we were watching, because I guarantee you, go watch Mexico back again and really pay attention to KB and Edmund's relationship. Pay attention to that shit. And you'll see she was done. She was done with this nigga. Again, why did she stay on the show? I don't know. It could have been clout reasons. It could have been, she wanted her 15 minutes of fame, whatever it may be. I don't know. But all I do know is after Mexico, she was done with this dude. You know what I mean? And even for me, I didn't realize it until they had the conversation about what happened after or what happened before the little cowboy party or whatever. You know what I mean? What happened before the little cowboy party and shit like that. Yeah, it made sense to me. I was like, okay, yep, you done. You done with him. And that's when they had the snowmobile argument. I was like, no fucking surprise. No fucking surprise they have this argument. Like, bro, she's done. She's been done with you. You know what I mean? Even when she called him a bitch, I was like, no surprise. No surprise here. You know what I mean? I even when I was watching the last episode, I was like, nobody's getting married. Nobody's getting fucking married in this. Okay. The one that was, we're going to move on to Nick and Annie. Nick and Annie were one of those where Nick finally woke up. Oh my God. You fuckers fought me in the comments for this. When I was talking about Annie saying, oh, she doesn't need him, she wants him. Well, guess what? Nick found out that, bitch, you should need me and you should want me. But the fact that you don't, it goes to show me that this ain't gonna work out, bruh. This ain't gonna work out. That you are in this relationship and you're in this relationship by yourself. If I'm being honest with you, you're in this relationship by yourself for some crazy reason. And because you feel like anytime I tell you that I love you, anytime I give you reassurance, anytime I give you the things that you need in a relationship, that foundational things that I talked about in the previous episode, go back and watch it if you didn't. Those foundational things that you need your partner for, anytime I give you those things, you're just like, oh no, you just don't love me. Oh, and personally, I didn't realize it until that last conversation that, dude, she's been projecting this whole time. This whole time she's been projecting onto him. She's the one that doesn't love him as much as he loves her. She's the one who isn't quite there yet or all the way in and all that kind of stuff. Bro, and it's evident. It's evident as fuck. It is evident. Like, you are the type of person where, you need like all of your insecurities and all that kind of stuff, you want to just throw it onto your partner so that way they have to deal with it and you don't have to. And that's what she was doing the entire time. And I didn't clock it because, it seemed like after Mexico, they were doing really well. You know what I mean? It seemed like they were doing really well. When she went over to his house, she could start to see herself, living more, in his environment, the mountains and all that kind of stuff. They met the parents. That seemed to go over really well. She wasn't really, doing the whole, oh, you don't love me as much as I love you thing. You know what I mean? She seemed like she had got out of that, and it seemed like things were moving forward, and then it came right back. And then only then in that conversation, it made me go back to previous conversations that they would have, and I'm just like, oh shit, she projecting, bro. She's projecting like crazy. Wow, how did I not pick that up, And so but Nick finally, and I mean finally, his train made it to the station. And oh my God, I was like, bro, about time. Because there ain't no way I would have been able to deal with that. I ain't gonna lie to you. There's no way I'd be able to deal with that. A girl who just constantly is just throwing her insecurities onto you all the time. You know what I mean? Making it your issue and your problem instead of being able to internalize these problems, come to your partner and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. Help me not feel this way, or help me not feel insecure about this. She just threw it on him and made it his problem. Like, oh no, you're the one that's this, you're the one is that. Like, bro, no man is gonna sit there and fucking deal with that on a constant. Sorry. Now, when it comes to Nick, I really don't think Nick did anything wrong. I ain't gonna lie to you. Now, a lot of people think that he's a snake and he's manipulative because it was a thing where he had told that other girl, oh, I don't really tell people that I love them very easily. And then he turns around and goes, tell Annie I love her. You know what I mean? And all that kind of shit. And then he goes and he tells the other girl that I love her. I get that. But at the same time, you have to understand that when you're in these pods, from the literally 9 seasons that we've watched, a lot of it is really difficult because you're dating so many people at the same time. So for him, and this has happened to a lot of other dudes that have, been in the same situation where they're between two girls and they don't know what to do. And, they'll tell one girl they love them, and then they'll go to the other girl, have an amazing conversation, connection, all that shit. And then it slips out and they're like, I love you. It's just the way it happens. Personally, I think he loved them both. I think he loved both girls, and it was a thing where he needed to make a choice, and he just said, fuck it, and I'm choosing Annie. They may have had, better conversations. There was, I'm sure, some reason he chose Annie over the other girl. And I don't know. I give him a pass on it. I ain't gonna lie to you. I give him a pass on it just because it is a very unorthodox thing. I think if we were in that situation too, I know if I was in the situation of I'm in the pods and I've connected with multiple women, yeah, I'd probably kind of be in that weird situation too where, yeah, I do love you. And yeah, I do love you, but I know that I need to choose one, and it comes off a little manipulative, you know what I mean? And I can see how she took it that way. But again, I just think there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of things going on, being in between two women and then needing to make that choice. You know what I mean? It was just a lot. I kind of give him some grace. I ain't gonna lie to you. I do. I give him some grace. Now, into the whole him being gay allegations, I just think he's a metrosexual. I don't think he's necessarily gay. I just think he's metrosexual. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think he's just the type of dude where, he really takes care of his looks. A lot of people, and I've seen a lot of videos, they're trying to talk about like his house and all that kind of stuff. And if I'm being honest with you, it's like, well, yeah, you know what I mean? Dude has done a lot of manly shit. And then on top of that, not a lot of people know what that car is. I'm like, yeah, you guys know nothing about cars then, because that is not a girly car. That is probably the most manly car you could ever have. The fuck are you talking about? That's a Shelby Mustang. That's a 67 Shelby Mustang, nigga. The fuck are you talking about? That is the most manly car you can own. When I saw that shit, I was like, damn, okay, this nigga got money. Those cars aren't cheap. The fuck? And the way he had it, it was clean. It was clean and it ran. Bro, are you kidding me? Look up the MSRP on those cars. I swear to God, you going to be like, oh, he's got money. Trust me. That right there, that's no chick car, bruh. That ain't no chick car. That ain't no gay dude car either. All right. If nigga had a Prius or some shit, all right, cool. I'd be like, all right, man. But nah, man, he had the most manly car I'd ever seen. So I don't believe the gay allegations. I just think he's metrosexual. I just think he puts a lot of stake into how he looks. And I don't see anything wrong with it. I just think he's a metrosexual nigga. That's all. It is just what it is. You know what I mean? But I don't think he's gay. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying he's gay. No, nobody has really been able to show me like definitive proof. You know what I mean? That the gaydar is going off. Because again, he gives off that metrosexual vibe. You know what I mean? But he definitely doesn't give off gay. He doesn't. He really don't give off gay. But yeah, that's Love Is Blind. That's my thoughts on everything that happened all the way up. I am excited to see the reunion. I'm excited to see the tea. I've heard that Joe was fucking around with Casey, and then he broke up with Casey, and Casey was stalking him and shit, and now Joe's got a new girlfriend. I've heard some, things here and there, but I wanna wait until the finale, or not finale, but the reunion. I think the reunion is gonna be good. I think this reunion is gonna be juicy. You want to know why? Because nobody got married, so everybody is just gonna be out for everybody's head. Oh my God, everybody's gonna be out for everybody's head. KB is gonna be out for Edmund's head. Bitches is going to be out for Joe's head. You know what I mean? Madison really going to be out for Joe's head. I ain't going to lie. Joe is about to get chopped at the fucking knees. Oh my God, bruh. If you guys remember in past seasons, there was a white dude. He had a mohawk. He was real buff. And everybody was fucking him up in the reunion because they were bringing out text messages of him talking to some girl that he's just like, oh no, babe, if things don't work out on the show, we can date and go back to being in a relationship and all that shit. I can't remember that nigga's name, bro. I can't. I think it was like Joey or something like that. But Joe is about to be the next Joey. I ain't gonna lie. There was even the previous season. There was another dude. I can't remember his name either. But he lived with his parents, and he was talking about how athletic he was and all that kind of stuff. I know he got fucking chopped at the knees too. There's always one dude. That be getting chopped up at the knees, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. And then I guarantee y'all, man, I put $50 on it. Edmund's gonna cry. If I'm being honest with you, man, that nigga Edmund's gonna cry. I don't know when, I don't know how, but he's gonna cry. I already know it. I mean, that nigga, I ain't gonna lie to you. The only time I was just like, let it out, my guy, is when he was crying because KB said no. I ain't gonna lie to you. If a girl said no to me at the altar, yeah, I'd be crying too. I ain't gonna cap. I'd be crying too. So again, it's one of those things where it's just like the reunion is gonna be good. I'm excited for the reunion. I'm excited to see what's about to happen with that reunion because, that shit gonna be wild. All right, that shit is gonna be wild, man. All right, we're going to get through the announcements, and I'm going to close out the show. So, patreon.com/Am I the Asshole Podcast. Get an exclusive episode every single Friday, as well as being able to send in your scenario to be featured on the Tuesday and Sunday show. Audio listeners, if you want to get a part of the Patreon, but you don't want to, watch the episodes on Patreon just because, you're solely on Spotify, don't worry, I got you. As long as you're a 7-day free trial member or a fully paid member, you can watch all the Patreon episodes or listen to all the Patreon episodes on Spotify. Got that set up for you guys. All the episodes are there. As long as you're a 7-day free trial member or a full paid member, you got it. Audio listeners, thank you guys so much for all the support, man. You guys have been killing it. Absolutely killing it in the support, man. It's one of those things where every week, every month, I've just been seeing the numbers go up and up and up, and it's crazy to me. I'm just like, oh my God, we're growing. We're doing our thing, man. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it, and I appreciate it so much. There is no amount of thanks that I can, say to you guys that would help. You guys are awesome. I thank you guys so much for that. Whether you're listening to me on the way to work, on the way home, you throw me on the background while you're, cleaning or doing homework, whatever it may be, I appreciate it so much. All right. So keep downloading the episodes as well as rating us 5 stars on your preferred platform. And all that is free, helps out so very, very much. If you want to help out even more on the free 99 side of things, go ahead and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, as well as subscribing on YouTube. All of that helps, and I really appreciate it. If you love live streams and you want to catch us live, or catch me live anyway, follow us on Twitch, Kick, YouTube, or TikTok. We live stream on all of those platforms. And man, I live stream every Friday, Sunday, and Monday. I tried my hardest to stream during the week last week. I just couldn't do it. I would get home from work and I would just be so tired. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things where I don't know. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to. But yeah, man, definitely tap in with us. No scenarios for today. I think Love is Blind just kind of took up all our time in this episode. So no scenarios for today. We just did Love is Blind, and that's it. So, you know what I mean? I'm going to end the episode here. Love you guys all. I'll see you on Thursday for King of Wrath. You know what I mean? We got that coming up. We're almost done with Lights Out. I'm super excited because Lights Out is getting juicy. Oh my God, it's getting juicy. They killed some dude, and then, they had to take it to some dude so that way they can get the car cleaned out and they can get the body out of there and all that kind of stuff. Craziness. You know what I mean? Then homeboy, out here smacking up her cheeks. Hey, it's a good one. It's a good read. If you guys haven't checked out Lights Out, definitely do on the channel. Lights Out is a Spotify exclusive, though, because YouTube does not allow me to upload Lights Out on YouTube. So it is a Spotify exclusive. So if you're looking for the rest of Lights Out, or you're looking for Lights Out and you're like, yo, what the fuck? Because I know there has been some people who have been, I do have a playlist on YouTube, and they've watched, I think, the first 2 episodes or so, and then they're like, where's everything else? Well, it's all on Spotify. So I do have a Spotify link for that, and it's a playlist, and it has all the episodes in there. I try to keep it updated as much as I possibly can, and I try to keep it as current as I possibly can. The episodes do come out every other week, so that one is gonna be a bit of a slow burn book, but that's because we're doing King of Wrath every week. So it was like I had to do Lights Out every other week, so that way we can kind of do both books and you guys can get the content. And so, I'm not overloading you guys with these books. But yeah, so that's going to be it for me today. See you guys on Thursday for King of Wrath. Love you guys all, and peace.